What's good? Welcome to the Lambeth Made podcast. I'm your host, Karima, and alongside me I have...
Hello, I'm Sasha.
And today we're interviewing Rebecca. So Rebecca, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I've been living in Lambeth for about 10 years now. First in Brixton, now in Streatham. I run a not-for-profit called I Have a Voice. That's all about politics. I'm really looking forward to chatting to you today.
Okay. So I read somewhere that you described Lambeth as being a vibrant and diverse community, and I couldn't agree with you more, but why in particular did you use those two words to describe Lambeth?
Yeah, I think when you, the first place that I lived is Brixton, and when you just step off the tube at Brixton, it's so busy. There are people from all generations, all walks of life, like the smells of the different food and the different music. That's the vision that I kind of had in mind when I used those words.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's good. So is there anything that's, I feel like, living in Lambeth, has it shaped the work you do in particular?
Yeah, definitely. I'm originally from Yorkshire, from Bradford, and it's not a very political place. I would say in Lambeth there's a lot more activity, a lot more political awareness. And I think noticing that difference and thinking if you live somewhere where people engage with what's happening around them, the difference that it has compared to living somewhere where it's much quieter and people are a bit less engaged.
So what political interests, what particular political interests do you have? And did that help you delve into your particular political route?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I wasn't ever interested in politics when I was younger, but I was interested in kind of the world around me and why things that were happening that I thought seemed unfair or decisions were being made that I just thought that doesn't make sense to me. And so I started working in women's health. And then moved over into different areas of policy and increasingly realised that if you want to have impact and get your voice heard, you have to figure out how politics works, because it's one thing to care about an issue and have a view. It's another thing to be able to talk to the people who make decisions about those issues and be able to talk to them in a way that's really effective. So that's kind of what got me into politics. But in terms of issues, the big one for me is political inequality, because I think that underpins all other kinds of inequality, because if you don't know how to engage in the system and hold people to account, then they're not going to take account of your views. And if you think about any groups in society that have been systemically marginalised, it's the system that's marginalised them, and by engaging in the system, you can change the system.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point to make, because of there's a lot of inequality within the system, and how does your company or your field create impact and change within that?
Yeah, really good question. So I set up I Have a Voice because I was working in politics, and increasingly I was in rooms where there wasn't people from all different walks of life in those rooms, and decisions were being made that only reflected some people's lives. And I was like, what's the thing I can do that can create change? And so what we do is we go out into schools, colleges, universities, youth groups, and teach young people about how politics works and how they can engage in the system, because it's only by getting more people with a diverse range of lived experiences into politics and into those decision-making processes that they're going to become more reflective of the population's views as a whole.
Okay, so why do you think in general it's important for the youth to be aware about politics?
Yeah, politics impacts every single aspect of your life. It impacts what you learn at school, the public transport to and from school, whether there's youth clubs and amazing things like this available. And so it's just really important that you have a say in those decisions that impact your life.
Definitely. So I also read that you said that your work is what like pushes you. That's like your driving force to keep going. But sometimes work can be a bit stressful. Is there any like other driving force that pushes you to like remain dedicated and keep going?
Yeah, one of the big things is, so my sister is severely physically disabled, and my mum's her primary carer. And so whenever I have a tough day, I'm just like, do you know what? Big picture, I'm not having a tough day, like continue, carry on. And I feel so lucky to have the freedom to do whatever I want to do. I'm mobile, I can get around, and just, so I can never allow myself to take that for granted.
That's a very beautiful thing, because I feel like I can relate to that. I have a disability as well, and I feel like I still try to get up and do a lot of things. So it's beautiful that I feel like you found like dedication in like your sister, and she's like, even though through her downfall is like helping you to keep going, which is very like inspiring.
Thank you.
What are the current issues do you think surround Lambeth, and like what are sort of the improvements that could be made, or be I guess like improve a bit in terms of within like the system?
So firstly, I love living in Lambeth. I wouldn't have lived here for 10 years if I didn't. So I think overall it's a great place to live. I'm secretary of my Tenants and Residents Association on my housing estate. I live on Sackville Housing Estate. And like I imagine many housing estates, there are issues with housing and just like good quality housing and maintenance and things like that. And it's an absolute minefield trying to navigate who to speak to get housing fixed. It's like different people for different things. You're like, I just want to talk to one person, and like you help us make our estate a great place to live. So I think just that kind of anything that you're trying to do where you're trying to engage with the council, them trying to think of it as you're an individual, you don't know all of the different departments in the council, you just need one person to help you, rather than expecting you to be the person who knows to call this person if it's a leak, or this person if it's a tree falling down, or so I think it's just making it much easier for people to engage with
Sometimes
it.
I feel like I call the council and I just feel like I'm going around in circles, and also I'm like, okay, you said I speak to this person, and it's like they delivered the wrong message to you, then you're going around and it's just like, I just want to speak to this one person. And then when you call them, like, okay, you're on the list, and it takes them forever to come and fix the problem. Like, I remember I must have broke, my perfume must have broke the sink. So in my sink, there's like a little hole. And so I reported it to my manager, who like manages my building. And so she called the council. And then I low-key forgot about it because they took forever. And then, like, I think it was literally last week, someone came and said, I said, oh, you guys still remember that and I was like, I forgot about it, because I'm like, you guys still haven't come to my house. But I feel like they need to make it a bit easier. Maybe like they do something online, like you go online and you click like the department, like you go on the website, it's like, okay, I need to fix a leak, or there's this problem, or because it can get a bit stressful. So
yeah, definitely it can.
Definitely.
So what kind of methods do you use to help young people understand politics? Because I feel like some young people, they think it's kind of like a boring subject. So I feel like you have to kind of make it engaging for them.
Yeah.
So
you're right. Lots of people think politics is boring, and lots of things that happen in politics is boring. But ultimately, politics is about having a say on the things that you really care about and that impact your life and your community.
Yeah,
and so that's the starting point. We don't start by talking about politics. We're like, what do you care about? What are you passionate about? What's happening in your life, or something that you see happening in the world that you feel strongly about?
yeah.
And that's the starting point. And then we show them how to find out what their local council's saying about that issue, what their local MP is saying about that issue, and anything else that's happening in the world of politics that they could then use as a mechanism for raising that issue and getting their voice heard on that issue. And we talk to them about how you can craft your message and pull together like your evidence and your call for action so that you can have impact, because that's the thing that keeps people motivated, that they want to have impact. It's not just I want to understand how Parliament works. Nobody's, not many people have that desire. So yeah, it's just trying to make it so that it's meaningful.
Okay, so what's some of the issues that the young people have come to you about?
Yeah. Anything you can think of. Like, young people are just as affected by the issues that you see in the news as older people. It's not like there's young people issues and adult issues. Yeah. Lots of young people are concerned about cost of living crisis and financial security. There's been a lot in the news recently about immigration. So a group that I'm working with at the moment are looking at that. Another group I'm working with at the moment are concerned about sexual harassment in schools. Climate change comes up pretty regularly. But anything from like those big worldwide issues like climate change to stuff that people see in their house on their doorstep. Yeah.
Okay. So you founded a company called I Have a Voice.
Yeah.
So how did that begin exactly?
Yeah. So I was working in a profession that's called public affairs. That's basically people who professionally try to inform and influence government decisions on behalf of different types of organisations. And when working in those roles, I was like, still one of the only females in the room. I'm one of the few people with a working class background, the only northerner. And obviously there are lots of other groups missing from those conversations as well. And that drove me to think, what can I do about it? And I was like, well, I've learned how to get by in this profession and how to get into this profession and into the world of politics. I want to inspire and motivate and equip other people to get into these rooms. And so I started working part-time and set up I Have a Voice with the rest of my time.
Okay, so I kind of want to delve into the idea of starting a business, because I feel like that's kind of like a daunting thing when you think about it, like, but it takes time, effort, dedication. And so I kind of want to understand like the process of how did you do that. So you talked about like working and then building it, but I want to like understand it a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. It was really gradual, because you're right, it's really scary. The first thing that I did is just start having conversations with people in this sector that I thought I wanted to set up a business in. So people who work in democracy and education, and just was like, what do you do? And to other people who'd set up businesses, like asking them, how did you go about it? And then the first thing that I did, I just started taking one afternoon off a week from my job and going into schools and doing some teaching of what I thought I might want to teach when I set up I Have a Voice, and seeing how people react. And so real baby steps. Once I'd done that a few times and I was like, oh, this has gone actually really well. Then did like all the company's house stuff and all of the operational stuff. Then it was about making yourself look like a legitimate organisation. So building a website, which I actually really enjoyed. I didn't think I was going to enjoy that type of thing, but I love it. And yeah, just little steps.
So what was one thing you enjoyed about building a website? Because I feel like I learned that in IT and I hated it. I was like, this is confusing.
Yeah.
Did you use something where you had to do coding? Or?
No, I don't. I can't remember.
No.
But then I was able to build a business. But let's get back to it. What did you enjoy?
It's so I used a tool that makes it super easy. You're just moving boxes around and changing colours and fonts. And I've never done anything visually creative before. Like I spend nearly all my time on Canva now creating things that look nice. And it was just never part of my job before. I always worked with words, and I've just been surprised how much I love creating visual content.
Definitely.
What have been the challenges when working within the business?
One of the biggest challenges, one of the reasons I set up my own business, because I was like, I want a really good work-life balance. That is not a thing when you set up your own business. So I think that has been really, really tough. I think one of the other things that's been tough when you set out on your own, like I sat down and I was like, what do I want from this personally and professionally? Like, what's important to me? And it's really tough not to get drawn into, oh, someone else is doing something really big and shiny. Why am I not as big as that organisation? And like kind of getting sucked into thinking you have to be bigger and better all the time and constantly saying to myself, that's not why you set this up. You set it up to do something you care about, to have a good work-life balance, to have impact. It doesn't, and nothing else matters. Like, just keep focused on that. I find that really tough.
No, because I believe that everybody can win. So it's even like, even someone that's bigger than you, they could even help assist you, and then like you can become big. And then like I feel like collaboration is an amazing like tool that we all have and real benefit. So
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So your business mainly focuses on like inspiring the youth and helping them to make change. So do you have like a particular like ethos, or like is it ethos in a way, or a mission that you want to accomplish?
Yeah. So I think ultimately it's that people working in politics, not just politicians, people who work around politicians, look like the population and have the same lived experiences of the population, and that it's representative. So that when you look at the world of politics, it looks like the UK population.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't think it like, because I saw an article like 4 months ago about the MP. Was it the MP or the Prime Minister? And I was like, I can't relate to that. And I just feel like politics, sometimes like people are in power that, and they haven't lived the experiences that some of us live. So it's like, we can't relate to them, and it's kind of hard because I feel like they make promises and then they don't fulfill them. So then you just stop believing in them.
That's really tough. Like, trust in politics is at an all-time low, according to lots of public opinion polls. And that's a really big hurdle to climb when you're going out there and saying to young people, engage in politics. And I think the big thing for me is if you don't trust the system and you choose to turn your back on it instead of engaging with it, the system's not going to change.
Yeah, no, that is true. That's true.
But it's hard.
So, what's your opinion on, let's say, like protests and stuff? Because that's kind of like political and stuff.
Yeah, I think everyone should have the right to raise the issues that matter to them, and protest is a really useful way of doing that. I think peaceful protest.
Yeah, definitely.
But I remember, I don't know do you remember when Extinction Rebellion brought London to a standstill?
Yes.
That was so powerful for the climate debate.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it is important that people can mobilise and let those in power know when there's an issue that's important enough for them to protest.
Okay. So could you give any advice to somebody, like a young person that's trying to like change an issue in the world? Like, because that's something I like care deeply about. Obviously, I have a disability. And I feel like the disability sector, they care about it, but then they don't. And it's like sometimes I feel like we get neglected sometimes. It's like some places are not accessible, and that you want to make change and you don't know how to go about it.
Yeah. I would say the first thing is something you said before around like collaboration. Find other people that are also interested in your issue, because many voices are more powerful than a single voice. And you need a lot of resilience. You think about any issue, like it's lots of small incremental changes rather than one big change.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you need your resilience, and having people around you helps with that. I think one of the things that's really, really key in campaigning and can often get forgotten is most people know that what problems exist in the world. What we're looking for is solutions and evidence about what solutions might work.
Yeah.
And so being really solution focused. So if you have an opportunity to engage with a politician, don't just give them a problem. Tell them what you think can happen to fix it. And, go and speak to people, test these ideas out so that you can convince them that the solution you want to see in the world you want to see is possible and it's positive.
Yeah, I never thought about that. That's some good advice.
Yeah, definitely. And we were talking about protests and things like that. Because currently there has been some involvement where the police have been involved, and people have wrongly been like admitted to like jail just because they protested, or even not even protested, just been there whilst the protest has happened. And would you think this will escalate, or do you think there's a possible chance it could get it to a place where people can actually protest again and make change and, create something, that's democratic as opposed to draconian?
Yeah. It's a shame that people have been arrested for being at protests, and I think it's bad for democracy. There's still lots of protests happening every day where people don't get arrested, so I think it's important to say that just so people know that they can still protest. But it's really hard to say what might happen. It probably depends. It's so issue dependent as well.
Yeah.
It's issue dependent. If people feel there's a threat to safety, and also, it'll probably depend what happens in the next election as well.
But do you ever think, because in regards to what Tasha said about people getting arrested and stuff, do you ever think that sometimes the people in power, not just politics, but like even the police, like there are some bad individuals in there, and it makes like makes the process of dealing with certain issues harder, because like not everybody's like in it for the right reasons and stuff.
Yeah, I was actually chatting to someone about this yesterday, about the Met Police, because a report came out recently, didn't it, just saying about basically the culture there is shocking.
Yeah, definitely.
And so you need changing the culture of a massive organisation is hard, and you need it from the top down and from the bottom up. And when there's a bad culture, it attracts people who have certain values and beliefs, which is then worrying because it perpetuates those toxic cultures. And I hope that by changing who's in charge of the police, the Met Police, that improves. But again, that's why it's like get involved in these organisations, in these institutes.
Okay. It's been very nice talking to you. I feel like speaking to you has helped me to like understand a bit about politics, but I feel like it's a bit scary to just put my trust into humans, because I just feel like they make all these big promises, and when I feel like what happens is where they make the big promises and then they can't deliver on them, and that's people get upset, and then sometimes that's why protests go left. But then it's like, don't make something that that you might not be able to deliver. But I guess getting involved kind of helps. But do you have like any final words that you want to like just let like the youth know so that they can feel more encouraged? Because I feel like a lot of them have like kind of similar points to me. Like it's kind of a bit hard.
Yeah, I think on like the false promises part, the media has a big role to play in that, and I think also when you're deciding who to vote for, read the manifestos and think what's possible, what do you care about, and if someone's making promises that sound too good to be true, they're probably too good to be true. So I think just try and be informed. I think for young people who are thinking about getting involved in politics, just find a campaign group about something that you care about and get involved. I think that's a really good first step. That's hopefully not too intimidating.
Well, I have one more question. What do you think about the current state of the political system in the UK? Because it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah, that's another question.
I think aspects of it work really well, but I think there's lots of aspects of it that just, we've got a really old political system, and there's some traditions that we don't need anymore. And I think there's a lot of work to be done to make our democratic system fit for the world we live in now. You think about how much information technology is advanced and things like that. And even little things like we saw in COVID, that people could vote without necessarily being in Parliament. If they continue things like that, it means MPs can spend so much time engaging with people. Which is what politics is meant to be about, people, not processes. So I think there's a lot that could be improved, definitely.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming to the
Yeah.
Lambeth podcast today, Rebecca.
Thank
It's a
you for
pleasure
having
talking
me.
to you, and now we're out. Bye, guys.
Bye.